Hello, how you doing? I'm Craig Parkinson. You are listening to the Two Shot Podcast. Sit yourself down, pop the kettle on. We're going to have a nice old chat. Who's it with this week? I'm going to tell you right now. How the devil are you? How the devil am I? You're asking. Well, if you could see me now, my face is stuck into a microphone, and I'm not joking. I've got my head under a big blanket because I'm recording this intro from London, and where we're recording, it's a little bit noisy. So producer Griff jokingly said, shove that blanket over your head, get a little sound booth. And I did it, so hopefully it's working. How are you? Is everything all right? It's episode 54 with the incredible Bill Ryder-Jones. Now, I asked you on social media this week, I asked you to do a little bit of homework, nothing taxing, something very enjoyable, was to try and listen to Bill's first album, If. Have you done it? So, what? Good, very good. Good you have. Now, that person at the back with the hand up who hasn't done it, don't worry. I want you to listen to this episode. In fact, all of you, I want you to listen to this episode and then go back and listen to some of Bill's music. I think it'll, you'll have a different spin on it. We went up to Manchester and we were welcomed by our friends at Zifferblatt on Edge Street, who very kindly gave us a space to record. And we met with Bill and we got down to it. We had a brilliant conversation, something that stayed with me for a fair few days. He's an incredible musician and a lovely guy. And yeah, look, we go deep in this conversation. We go everywhere. Just get yourself sat down, right? Pop your feet up. Just stop what you're doing for a second and listen. This is episode 54 with the fantastic Bill Ryder-Jones. Enjoy, and I'll see you at the end, okay?
I think last lot of interviews I did, I was quite candid, and for this record, or like this bit of my life, I'm probably not going to give that much away, so it'd be nice to just have something like this, where I'm happy to say and talk and be honest and stuff. I'm probably just going to... So it'd be nice for that to exist before I go zip it a little bit, do you know what I mean?
Put a line underneath.
A little bit. I don't want to... I don't like doing people's jobs for them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like I got to that place. It was the only thing that was getting talked about was your mental state.
And also, sometimes people just want a fucking soundbite off you.
Yeah, and I do. I think that, and I also think it's a slice of you say things in being well-meaning, and there's the culture for romanticising difficulty here. I think it's really quite bad. Yeah, you know,
and that stigma as well.
Yeah, well, I'm quite. But I'm
talking.
Yeah, well, I just think like I'm a 16-year-old shouldn't. Not that they're particularly listening to, like, 16-year-olds are listening to me, like, still 45-years-olds who like my music.
You never know.
Already know their shit, like,
yeah.
You get, like, when you're a kid and you think, what's great about Ian Curtis is his troubles and that, and it's not at all, you know, that's really that's the worst bit, you know, and I think so anyway.
But I think there's a door now where people are talking more. It's even the kids, because... who are they looking up to? The people that are putting their heart and soul out onto social media, and whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know. I'm still on the fence about it. But at least there's a conversation to be had.
The dialogue has to be there, I totally agree. I think it's brilliant that it is happening more and more. I just feel like I now need to be in control of who that's getting put to.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the enemy online come to me for a quote during Mental Health Week. I'll do it, but I think twice about it. But I do a lot of stuff where there aren't microphones, speak to people in that way, do you know what I mean? To try and...
What, in a face-to-face?
Well, I'm like I'm a bit, what you call it, ambassador to a mental health charity in Liverpool, so I do a lot with them without, you know, it's tricky because you do, like, you know, it's best for it to be seen if you're talking about it. Just a bit like, don't want to get tarred with the mad brush, to paraphrase.
Yeah, I know, but people would think that, wouldn't they? But I think I was talking to somebody the other day because I'm going to start doing something new on the podcast, but that's by the by. But somebody either texted or messaged in or emailed in, and they said, you know, I've had a real struggle with things, and then I listened to one of your episodes, and it totally mirrored what I was going through, and it really helped.
Of course.
And that, I just thought, well, that's amazing, because from one conversation has sparked something else.
Absolutely, yeah. And like, I've been party to that and loved that. I think this decision for me is more, now I've done a fair bit, and I feel like as an artist, because I do think of myself quite seriously as an artist.
Yeah.
I feel like there's an ownership that's happening between people who listen to artists and people who are artists, and I'm conscious that I would like some enigma, for, you know, not for any cool or anything like that. I just feel like maybe it'd be good if I wasn't kind of saying an awful lot.
But also, you don't want...
This is not what you want, is it?
No,
I want this from my artist.
But you don't want one thing to overtake the other. What, you know, your artistry is that's what you do for a living, and just because things happened in the past, they can't overtake what drives you and what you do for a living.
No, and you're never gonna not talk. As soon as I meet someone who's engaging, who wants to know, like I'm, you know, I will just blab or whatever, but just trying to make, like, I've put a lot of stuff into the songs, you know, and
but you can tell that when you listen to your music.
But I kind of feel like that's probably enough. I want people to,
so then they can take what they need from the work.
Yeah, I think so. I just think, like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm just gonna try and talk more about music and less about my own. Because, I mean, I have done a lot. You know, there's quite a lot out there of me, like, in print, nothing like this. Yeah. But anyway, but that's why it'd be nice. So I am completely open in your hands today. Yeah. If for anything that you might find interesting. You know?
Good job. Well, everything.
Good job.
It's a good job you're here, isn't it, really? And if you'd have come on and gone, Craig, I'll talk about a couple of things. Don't ask me about the choral or my mental health situation. That's it. All right, okay. But speaking about your work, though...
Have we started?
Oh, yeah, we started.
Yeah. Seamless.
That's it. Does it cost you, for you as an artist? Because your work... It does affect me, like, as a fan, but I get the sense that there's some people who can just churn out their work, whether it's a play, it's a film, it's an album, kind of doesn't really affect them, and they'll just carry on going on to the next. But with you, I get the sense of listening to your work that you throw everything into it, and it does cost you. Do you think it does?
I certainly throw everything. It's a strange. I think you probably look at it from the other side of the table. To me, it doesn't cost me anything. That is my life. You know, like the music. It isn't. I don't miss out on anything that I want because I'm absorbed in what I do. I'm just absorbed in what I do. It's just it's everything that I am. The way I understand myself and the world comes from... My only understanding of the world is through my inherent understanding of music. You know, I've learned what I like and what I think's credible and good and artistic and of quality and sincere solely through music. And in that sense, I do give everything I have to it, but there is nothing. There's nowhere else to put all that, you know. Like, I don't.
But do you gain clarity?
I don't think so. I think there's no payoff. I don't think there's any sense of relief.
So is it more that it's a very natural?
Oh no, it's hard. I work, like, you know, I work at it. I know what's the for me, the challenge in music is I'm quite good. My ears are good. I have a good understanding of it, so I'm quite happily sit at a piano at request and write something of decent quality. The issue is not just doing that, because that's. I think there's a lot of people in music who are able and understand the landscape and can create for it, and that's how you quite often find your place in the world, particularly for old people of my age, maybe less so younger artists. But yes, certainly finding, not just doing something that I know is will make sense to a lot of people. That's the challenge, because not always there is this burning desire to, you know, to express yourself, the desire to write and to feel. I said earlier, there's no great release or payoff. That's true in a sense, because it never ends. No. It's every single waking minute. But there is a high that lasts for moments or weeks when you know you've done something that is solely yours and, you know, has just come out of you and your experience. Yeah. That helps kind of turn the wheel when it's stuck on, you know, when it's got stuck in whatever mud that everyone kind of gets stuck in occasionally. Yeah.
And is there a need? Do you think there's a need for you to be doing what you're doing? Because when I said natural, I didn't mean that. Oh, you're a natural musician. I meant that. Well, it's the only natural way that this is what I have to do in my life.
Yeah, that's kind of absolutely true. Yeah, there isn't anything that does the same thing for me as making music does. Certainly, partners and people. I mean, I guess maybe, you know, if there is a cost, that might, people, you know, I gather that my obsession with it might impinge on personal relationships.
And has it done in the past?
Well, not in my head. No. But after, you know, when they leave, you know, you might maybe question it then. But again, I'm very accepting of people, and I kind of only really expect that in return, you know. I kind of, particularly with partners. I mean, I've had 3 brilliant partners in my life, and they've all gone way above, like, to help me in personal situations, you know, all those things. And I've all, at times, struggled, I think, with the wiring, and certainly the wiring's maybe perhaps a little bit mixed up, but has found music as a way to make sense of itself. So I kind of have to shrug a little bit and say, well, you know, you can't have the fiver without having the Queen's head on the back of it. Yeah, you know, we don't particularly want that, but I want the fiver, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I've always tried to see people as not. When I've been with people, I always tried to see them not as extensions of me, you know, or how their makeup affects my makeup, you know. Yeah. But yeah, I'm sure it gets quite irritating, doesn't it? If you're, you know, if you work a lot. I don't think people like that very much.
Well, it's 'cause sometimes that's hard to sort of maintain the relationship in whatever field of creativity you do. And also, I don't know, I suppose if you go into a party and you're really drunk and then the other person isn't, you're just on 2 different levels.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's a base comparison.
Yeah, yeah.
When you're, just to talk about work for a second, and then we'll move on to other stuff. But when you're being given a film to score, do you feel that you have still a great sense of control of your work as opposed to your other stuff, or because you're adding another layer to somebody else's vision? Does that?
Well, I think that.
And I only say that because.
You're going to offer me some work?
No. I wish.
That'd be good.
I've offered you some work. This is it. No, you're getting paid for this. He's not getting paid for this. No, because my very good friend Kieran Hawkes.
Oh, I know. Yeah,
because I saw him a few weeks ago and I said you were going to come on the podcast.
So Kieran's the last person who gave me work in that world.
Really?
Yeah, Piggy was that 7 years ago, something like that.
It was about that, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's great. I like watching him from afar carry on and do great, he's a good air game. I like him. Answering the question is, I know that the only reason I might get a job is because of who I am in the sense of what I can bring to it.
Yeah.
I'm not good enough. I'm not schooled enough in music to do a brilliant job if I'm not talking about myself, essentially. If I'm not, like, particularly with Kieran's film with Piggy, like, had he not wanted If, which was my first record, had he wanted something else, then we wouldn't have come to me.
Yeah.
So I know I will tend to only take on work if I feel like, well, they're here because they want me to do my thing. I like adding to what's there. I think there's a real one of the joys of writing to image is that you don't. Well, one of the issues with not writing to image is, well, what is this thing that I'm doing? Like, what is the point of it now? Like, I know the point is me. I need to do it because I've got 6 hours to kill tonight. Do you know what I mean? Like, or like, I don't know. Nothing's happening and I can't bear this silence or whatever. With film or image, you don't have to worry about that. And it's quite easy to make sense when you see something, for me as a writer, to go, oh, well, that makes absolute sense. It's like giving advice to someone.
Yeah.
It's just so obvious what you should do. You know what should happen here. And it seems to just roll off the tongue like dubious advice of questionable quality. But still, if I don't emotionally engage with it, I'm really not that. There's certainly better people out there to just give you like a solid
film score.
Do the job.
Oh,
film score, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I know that, like. But I like it like that, because I need to be consumed, I think, truthfully.
Yeah.
And I always need a job on.
Are you one that always needs to keep working? Like, because we're just coming off the back of summer, and I wanted to try and take the summer off, certainly with the podcast as well as other work, just to sort of get my head clear and be with the family and do a bit of travelling. Are you all right? Can you have time off, or are you one that wants to get back on the bike and keep pedalling? Yeah,
no, I like to. I wake up in the morning, like, get out of the house and get to the studio.
See, I love that. Because as actors, you work on constantly. You're waiting for this script, or waiting for someone to open that door or say yes. Because that's what I envy about musicians. But I also love it as well that you can go, I'm get up in the morning. What am I going to do? Yeah, I'm going to write that song.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Like, my wife was going to meet a friend of ours who's a musician. He said, I can't meet until later on because I've just got to finish the lyrics of this song. It's going to take me a bit of time. But he can do that because he's constantly creating.
Right, yeah.
Are you one of those who just gets up and just wants to be there, or...?
Yeah, well, I have a studio now and I like being there.
Where's the studio?
It's in the village out at West Kirby.
West Kirby.
It's like 2 minutes from my mum's, 3 minutes.
Which is where you were born?
Not born, no, I was born in Warrington.
Warrington.
And
I lived in Warrington for a time. Before your time.
Before my time.
Yeah. You don't remember Call Eileen Bilton, do you?
No.
Used to be big banners about houses. Call Eileen Bilton.
No, I don't know. Well, I was only born there. They lived in Manchester. I don't know why. I don't know if they were passing through. My dad's mum and I all moved to North Liverpool from Bolton. And my mum's lot are all from like Wigan, Manchester. So they must have been, I assume they were driving. I've never asked them. You assume they were just driving, and she was like,
It's just not there.
It's just not yet. It's
all right.
There you go. That'd explain a lot. Like.
How long did you stay growing up in Warrington?
No, we lived in Salford.
Oh, did you?
At the time, maybe in Cheshire somewhere, and then Salford and Greenmount, Ramsbottom, Rammy Way. Yes, you don't know. We moved over to West Kirby in like 1989.
Right.
My dad got a job out in Birkenhead.
What was your dad doing for a living?
At the time, he was a bank manager.
Was he?
Yeah. He was cool, yeah. He did that for a while. A long time, actually. Yeah.
You enjoy it?
Nah, maybe. He's weird, me dad. He's a good man. He's got that thing. He dragged himself up out of the Brakemet, which is like an estate in Bolton. Pretty like full on. Took me there once. I was like, whoa. And like really worked. Is grafted. Both my folks are proper hard workers.
What was your mum doing for a living?
My mum's was like an auxiliary nurse and a cleaner and an ironer and all that stuff. But she super bright. My mum. She done the kids thing though.
So that was you and who else?
Me and our Daniel.
Just two boys.
The two of us, yeah. But
things good with your brother. Did you have were you a good pairing growing up, or were you like sparring brothers?
Tricky this really. Daniel passed away when I was younger, and my memories of him are kind of 0 to 1 or 2 type thing.
Right.
The memory of him that isn't just photographs, or of quite a loving, but super talented. I remember assuming, because like I've mentioned before, like I've got good ears for music, but our Daniel was very, very gifted. He played violin. That was one of the few memories I've got of him. He learned Dvorak's New World Symphony on the violin. It was on Hovis advert at the time. The famous one.
Yeah.
And I kind of assumed that was what people were like, I think. And that perhaps I was subpar musically, It was way, way later that I kind of realised that he was probably very, very prodigious,
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, they're not a great deal there,
Where did the musicianship come from your parents?
Don't know really. We don't know. We don't know who my dad's dad is, so maybe there's something there. But my mum's mentioned this before because, like, she can't sing or play out, and my dad.
So she can.
She can't.
Oh, she can't.
My dad's been trying to play piano since he retired.
Has he?
Yeah.
That's brilliant, though, that you can start to pick something up. How's it going? No.
No, do you know what? I joke, because he will listen to this. I think it does a hell of a lot for him, I think that's the point, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I don't really know. Just like, don't really know an awful lot about, like the Welsh side of our family. My real dad's lot. Could be something in there.
Right.
But it's one of those things that, is not talked about on until now on a podcast.
Do you remember when you first picked up an instrument?
Well, I had piano and violin lessons when I was very young. The parents
from school, or was that extracurricular?
Actually, do you know what? Violin lessons in school, And I know that I binned it off because I found it frustrating, and because Daniel was very good at it, and I just felt like it weren't my thing. So then and I could always play piano, like as far as I remember, could always just play piano. And then...
So when I said naturally before, did the piano come very naturally to you?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know why I'm doing that, because you don't know what piano is. I'm showing you. I'm just pretending that the piano, the table's a piano, just so you know, at home.
Yes, maybe at 13, no, maybe younger. Got interested in guitar, got some guitar lessons. And then binned that again for a couple of years, and then...
How come, out of frustration, or...?
Do you know what, the guy told us he was moving to Dubai.
What, the teacher?
Yeah, the teacher, yeah. And then he was on our walk home from school. We seen him washing his car about 3 weeks later.
Really?
Yeah.
Lying bastard.
I know. Think of all the fun he could have had in Dubai. And then it was off my own bat, really. I think what had happened, Britpop had happened. Like, when was that, 1995, 1996? Yeah, I was probably about 12. Like, I should explain also that there's like 6 or 7 years of just, like, shock. I went into shock after my brother passed, you see. So that the whole time frame of, like, 8 to 14 is like... I know it is for anyone of 35 a little bit, but then it's like... I can't even be reminded. Like, so... yeah, like, The Verve, I remember seeing, like, it was an MTV thing of Richard Ashcroft and Nick McCabe. I just remember watching him play guitar and like, what is that,
It's a new breed of rock star.
Say again?
He's like a new breed of rock star.
He was like the king of who I thought my people were.
Yeah.
And still is, really, I think like that as a 14, 13-year-old, not really, you know what it's like to be a boy at that age, or anyone at that age. And then seeing someone who, on there, be incredibly talented and do it, but humble, and with the other guy next to him with the sunglasses on, and showing him up effectively, and just being kind of woken up by that,
And did that encourage you to pick the guitar back up?
Absolutely, yeah. It was certainly that. Kind of remember the feeling of seeing that.
Was it encouraged at school, your sort of musical ability, or...?
Primary school, no. I don't think in primary school, I don't know if it was... If it was a thing. Secondary school, no, I don't think so. Certainly, I myself included, I don't think anyone thought I had any talent for it, But I don't know how a teacher's expected to just pick up on that. I was more or less mute throughout school.
You were?
Yeah, that lad that you went to school with. I don't think there's no indictment of like schooling.
And also certainly probably what you'd been through personally didn't really help you to blossom and sort of be yourself at school.
And I think there was concerns over us, certainly, I think, and I was probably allowed to just float a little bit, which I'm super grateful for.
Yeah.
I don't know if schools would be able to do that these days. I don't know if they can or whatever, but I think, fortunately, my mum's quite well known where I'm from, and everyone loves her because she does so much, So I think those kind of personal ties that teachers may have with me mother, or in a small community like that in the early 1990s, probably overwrit.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Someone will know. Overrule. Right? I don't know. Any kind of professional,
And were you happy to just coast? Were you, because you said you were quite grateful for them to sort of, were you happy to be left alone, really?
No, looking back now, I think it was really good. But at the time, I don't just don't know, do you?
No. What do you know? You don't know who you are.
You haven't got.
Yeah.
No.
Still trying to learn that years on.
Yeah, well, I wonder maybe that did help, because I'm quite comfortable in my skin. You know, I speak to people a lot who aren't. I feel like that must be hell.
I did mean we, as in the pulpit. I didn't mean you.
No. It's all right if you did.
I didn't?
You know,
I'm very honest,
I'm not
Bill.
going to be offended.
Oh, no, I don't try and offend you.
No, but... Yeah.
Did you have a good circle of friends?
In
school?
In primary school.
Primary?
To be honest, my friends now are the friends I had then.
Really,
Yeah,
still?
my best friend. I've picked up some stragglers since, but yeah, my best friend is the lad who lived across the road from me when we first moved here, and after I left the group, like reconnected with like a group of lads that I knew in school who were just not musicians, essentially.
Yeah.
Which is a joy, because they're not musicians.
Why is it a joy? Do you find it healthier to not hang about with a load of musicians all the time? Do you think it's...
Yeah, it's just, musicians are just super competitive, right? And it never turns off. I find there's maybe one or two exceptions that I can think of, but in the main, you kind of... I find people do this generally, whatever circle they're in, they work out what their angle is, and then it's like the race to become a satire. But, you know, you go so far into like, well, that's me.
Yeah.
And particularly with older musicians, people that I've known for 15, 20 years, who are like, no, this is who I am now, this is my role. That, I find that super draining. And
is it patronising as well at any point? I don't know, because I'm only saying, I've been in a group of actors before, and that certainly can happen.
It's it's super
not all the time,
it's super patronising.
Yeah,
particularly like I was always like the young lad. I was like a good bit younger than most of my musician friends in Liverpool when we started playing, like 1999 or whatever. They all just decided my name was Billy, which now I find that quite sweet. It's like a Scouse thing, like they Billy. And now it's alright, but at the time I felt like, I don't know. I probably had hang-ups about that stuff, but yeah, people love. Yes, in answer to your question, I do quite often feel patronised, condescended by other musicians.
Do you speak up when things like that happen, or do you just remove yourself from the situation?
I certainly don't speak up. I mean, one thing you can't do is engage in conversation with musicians, because they're useless, you know.
Really?
Yeah, they're not real people. They're like super self-absorbed, you know, missionaries of their own church.
Do you think they still have that stage persona on all the time?
Yeah, well, the stage thing's really... It comes like... Everyone's got their own Mad Ziggy Stardust, you know?
Yeah.
I'm sure as actors, like, I'm sure it's rife in that, but you work out one corner of the world, go to the room for yourself, and then you stand by it, don't you? And it can be very hard to sometimes forget. I've recently just had this thing, actually. I work primarily with artists now that are younger than myself, not for reasons other than I get suggested as maybe a safe pair of hands.
Yeah.
Who's probably, I hope, sympathetic and a bit more conscious of you know, the world that they're entering into, perhaps. I'd like to think that. I might just be cheap. Or
maybe a bit of both is always good.
I'm not that cheap, but I mean, I don't know. But yeah, quite possibly. I did my first gig after I left the group. I did my first gig in Manchester, just the Castle Hotel, tiny, just round the corner.
Yeah.
It's mega. It's like the size of this room, right? And it were It was like palpable with fear. Everyone, I was bricking it. I'd never sang or out, you know, to people. And they were like, it was like 50, it's old about 50 odd people. It was full, like, but there was just this fear. I could just sense people like, oh God, look at the state of him, you know, like that noise.
Well, you can feel it in the air when that happens.
It happens, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it was like 4 or 5 songs in, and I made some joke, and it just come out, and everyone, and just the tension went, you know, just like that. And consciously or not, I was like, okay, that's how I'm playing this. And then over the next 5 or 6 years of gigging, that has absolutely become a thing now, where my bandmates will comment after the show on whether I've had a good one, like in my comedy set. And I loathe it. I really hate it. It's open your mouth, and it's just this fear of, God, if they think I'm not all right, maybe I'm not. So try and say this, and then you get caught up in this, like, you know, I'm well aware that I play the super humble, modest artist quite a lot. I'm trying to address that, because it's not really. I'm more kind of into myself than probably I suggest when I'm on stage. But it is quite a strange thing to stand up in front of people and say I'm worthy of being heard. You know, that puts you in a weird zone, you know?
Yeah, well, you know, sometimes people would take offence to that and think it's one thing when it isn't. And I think it's all right to stand up and go, do you know what, I'm actually pretty good at what I do, and I really love what I do, and that's all right.
If it's true.
If it's true. My God, we've all been to those gigs. Come on, get off where's that crook?
Yeah,
get him off.
Right, yeah. I had one of them the other week. I was like, I had to apologise to him. No, it wasn't the other week. It was about a month back.
You had to apologise to who?
I just went, sorry, guys, I'm just...
Oh, to the audience?
Them, yeah. They were fine. They wouldn't even notice. I was just, you know... You sometimes just beat yourself up more than... You know, it's a Tuesday, so I'm going to find a big shitty stick and I'll leather myself with that all day.
Yeah.
Don't you? You know,
yeah,
and
of course you do.
Wednesday, you like, go for a swim. You know, it's just...
Well, it's balance,
yeah. But not always you're not always the guy who makes the decision that that's how it's going to be that day, right?
No. Sometimes it's out of your hands.
No, yeah, I find more often than not it is. Yeah. Unless the night before is... Unless you've engineered something silly the night before.
Yeah.
But I don't do that anymore.
Did you do that? Did you have a time of being sort of self-inflicted?
Yeah, I was quite... I'd like to say I was kind of troubled in that, but I think I just was a bit of a shit. It's hard, isn't it, that? I'm clean of drugs. And I bulk of this year I haven't drank. Very occasionally I slip up and have a couple of nights. But
have you got control over that now?
Yeah, I'm absolutely in control, yeah. Control's such a funny thing. Because for you know, you have those kind of issues, which aren't always issues, sometimes they're just fun things to do, let's be honest.
Yeah.
You can want that to stop as much, you know, with all your heart, and do everything you can to make it stop. And then one day, poof, and it's not in you anymore. You know, you find that thing you're trying to eat right, or exercise, and you can graft for months, like drag yourself up and go for your run and eat well or whatever, but you're not. Like you're tricking yourself, and you're like eating in the cupboard at night when everyone's a kid, and then for some mad reason, 6 months down the line, it's dead easy to exercise. Well,
yeah,
it's just the same, I find.
It's like smoking, though, isn't it? When I used to smoke,
I like smoking.
Oh, you like smoking? When I first stopped smoking, and then I wouldn't smoke for a week, and I would buy a pack, take one, throw the rest of the pack away, and then it's all right. It's just had
just one.
Yeah, and it's like there's never just one.
It's I figured that. I don't know if it's a cop-out for me, but I figured that there's so many things that happen in my mind that I've never asked for or sought, or it just turns on its own sometimes, that I will not beat myself up over it anymore, you know?
Do you think you beat yourself up over other things too much? I'm just saying because I think a lot of people I know do.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
But sometimes I think you have to let yourself off the hook.
Thank you. What a gift or what a thing to learn that would be. You know, it's at the. I think beating yourself up and being hard on yourself is at the root of every illness, mental illness.
Yeah.
It's in there on some. You know, it's a big part of everything for me. Certainly, in my issues, guilt. Where, you know, I've done things that warrant me feeling guilty for.
But sometimes it's the things that you don't warrant any guilt for that you worry over.
They're the worst.
Yeah.
Those like, you know, you can't. But certainly, low self-esteem, I think, and kicking yourself is. But at the same time, you know, it's probably why I work as much as I do. My quality control is pretty good.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't bear the thought of something going out that was, you know, I've had one tune released that I knew should not have been released, and I was asked politely to put it on my last record, and it's still just sat in the park one day and go, you know,
still niggles after all this time.
And maybe, you know, and so maybe that's part of that, you know. I mean, almost certainly is.
Can we just go back, because maybe some people do know, some people won't know, about just how the band started and how you all met. Mm-hmm. So was it at school?
Yeah, secondary school we met. Yeah.
Or was it one of those? Yeah, let's start a band. Or was it quite? Or was it quite serious even then?
No, do you know that band? I mean, they're like.
No, I mean like kids' dreams in a way.
Oh, I don't know. Like, I think maybe Ian always probably was going to take over the world in some way. He's like quite forceful like that. James, never really got much out of James. You know, James was a singer and a songwriter. Still really. I mean,
in what way? You never got to know who he was?
No, I mean, I knew him, I guess, like.
Yeah, but it's always that thing that you know someone on a surface level, but you don't know who they are.
Do you know what? I think I know I don't want to do a disservice to my relationship with James, because he's a wonderful man, and emotionally, like, I know he's there. He's got me heart and all that. So that's disclaimer.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a bit of a closed book, you know. But yeah, so going back, like, no, I never wanted to do that. I was quite scared of Ian, our drummer, who is just incredibly talented, like, artist. Like, he's, I hope he won't mind me saying he's mad. Like, they're all mad. They're all bonkers.
But you've obviously got a great affection for them all.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you went through too much, you know. I mean, there's loads of crap as well. I'm still quite angry at them for quite a lot of stuff, and I'm sure I know they are with me. But, you know, we do meet up, and it's all sound, you know. It's all, remember this, and, you know, and I think it's always been known, the side of anything that went on. Like, if the phone call was made, you know, that phone call, then it would be answered. And but yeah, so back to in school, like, yeah, Ian was like a bit scary. I was scared of him, and it was a bit of a way out,
right?
Because he knew I played. Paul, Ian, and James all knew each other from primary school. Me, Paul, and Lee were in the same class together, and just kind of, who knows someone who's got a guitar, and it was just nothing about. I think my perception of it is super different, because I never felt we were going to do anything. I loved it.
Was it more just a hobby for you?
In those early days in school, I hated it. I just didn't like doing it at all.
Why?
I don't know. I just liked it. I was still like, I had a dress-up box till I was about 15. Right. I was still like, they walked in on me once and it's a good story. There was a knock on our door, like 8 o'clock one weeknight. I just did, you know what that's like anyway.
Yeah.
I just heard my mum, Yeah, he's in the front room. It's just red panic, and see these 3 lads all walk in with me, playing snooker with me dad in full attire, chalk in my pocket. And honest, like, we're in secondary school here, you know. They've probably, like, just made a can pipe. Do you know what I mean? Oh, I thought that were it.
Oh.
Do you know what I mean? But that's who I was, you know. I was like, I lived in another world and was frightened of everything, constant, you know, like on edge type thing. So like, I just liked hanging around with my parents and just staying in the house and things like that, and playing my guitar. But then when it started to, then you know, obviously having lost a brother, and then you that's a very strange thing to be taken into a world where you are, you know, the thing of a band is that you are brothers.
Yeah.
That is, you know, it's daft, but it's real and it's quite sweet. So I think once that thing of shit, I've got people now, you know, I always had my best friend.
Yeah.
But I've got these people now who are like a bit streetwise and, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, tough a bit, really. And we were good. You know, we could play, like, even at 16 we were good, and we got a name around Liverpool for being, like, because we're not from Liverpool, we're from, like, that really uncool peninsula just beneath. We were seen as quite, I think, oddballs, you know?
Yeah.
By all them lot. And
Was it one of those bands where you started off doing the covers, or did you want to write original stuff straight away?
No, we were like, it's just so tricky to remember all this. I think James was always writing. James was a couple of years older than us.
Right.
We did things like add Trout Mask replica jams.
What?
You ever heard of, Captain Beefheart?
I don't know a lot of Captain Beefheart,
Right.
I'll be honest.
Well, yeah, we were trying to learn, like, Pink Floyd tunes.
Right.
If you listen to Trout Mask replica once, it's like this super syncopated, it sounds like nonsense, but isn't. You know,
A bit like that 5-year-old playing the piano out there.
Yeah,
Doing-
not
doing
unlike
wedding. Tell him to shut up.
Not unlike that. We were, yeah. But yeah, truthfully, I can't remember. I know there was a lot of, like, Beatles 6-cut songbooks knocking about. Lee's dad played.
That was bound to happen, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Lee's dad played in the cavern with all them, so he kind of taught Lee all the Beatles songs. And,
Right.
yeah, and we all picked up. But I think James was writing quite early on. And the rest of us. I mean, James was such a great writer that I don't think the rest of us really thought. I certainly didn't think it was something that I could do. Like, to any. Because I remember when I was like 17 when we did our first record. I was about 18, and James and Nick were writing really, really great, well-crafted songs.
Yeah.
And you don't consider it. You try, like, really hard and that, to write something that might fit in with what they're doing, but who's going to believe me? Like, how could I even show it to them? I'm mute, you know?
And also to have that confidence, I mean, to write something and then to
That
show
thing, yeah.
this is what has come from my heart or my mind or
The
my...
sliding of the paper across the table.
What do you think? I mean, that is...
It was funny, we all used to, like, just in practice, like, have a little thing of our own and just play it a little bit and hope James might go, what's that? It happened with Lee a lot, it didn't really happen with me. I don't know why that would be.
Is it funny now to think back to, like, those early days of the Coral, and if someone had said, you know, one day, Bill, it's all right, you'll be solo doing your own, you wouldn't have believed them, would you?
I wouldn't have wanted to, that's for sure.
You wouldn't have wanted to?
I mean, personally, I hate that word. Like, I find, like, having the connotation of solo, it just, like, sets toes to curl. Like, Nick Cave's not a solo artist, is he? Well, no one says his 19th solo record after the birthday party split. But also, it implies, like, I never left that group for a career, you know? That's what it implies, and that's the issue I have with it. I left that band because I wasn't well, and went back to university, and then was tanked at that as well.
What did you go to university to do?
Well, anything. I wanted to do, I had to do an access. I didn't make it through the access.
Right.
I wanted to do like history, because that's the only other thing that I'm kind of interested in. But I ended up doing, I did the access. And the most Liverpudlian course ever, which was the social and economical history of Liverpool. See, like, everyone knows what they're like. Love you, Scousers, but like quite keen on themselves, you know, and what they are. Very proud. Maybe that's what I should say. Very proud.
I think they are. Yeah. Proud of who they are and where they're from.
Yeah, that's not a. But I
don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No, I'm absolutely not
I don't
saying
think there's anything wrong with that.
No. I'm not saying that. I just think
right.
for the University of Liverpool, it seems a little localised. But hey, you know.
Yeah.
I would have done a course on the Beatles, had they? But anyway, so I tanked at that, and then got a phone call off someone who said, and my money's running out. I left that band with like very, very little. And someone asked me to do something, make some music. And what are you going to do? Am I 26? Something like that?
Right.
26, never paid tax. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Money's just been in my account every week since I'm 16.
Right.
It might sound pathetic, but that's my world at that point, you know? That's, I've got...
It doesn't sound pathetic.
No, it's understandable.
Yeah,
but, you know,
absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, but yes, and I never, ever, ever, ever wanted, when I was younger, to... Like, they had to tell me to face the audience. Do you know what I mean? That was... My relationship with people watching me do anything has always been quite, you know, unsettling.
Yeah.
You know. And I think that's why I started drinking, actually. I never drank when I was in the car.
Really? Like, so you never went, right, okay.
No, I was never a drinker. I started drinking kind of heavily after I left. Not heavily like a real man, but like for a...
Certainly heavily for someone who's never really been a drinker.
No. Yeah, because that's not natural. And if that's natural, I think to you, then I think you're probably keeping a hell of a lot of who you really are away from yourself.
Yeah.
Because that is not a natural thing to do. Everyone loves it. Everyone loves people looking at them. If you're good, and if you're doing good, and everyone loves people going, you're good. But to be stood there whilst it's happening in normal, it's not. And maybe I'm being unfair. Certainly for me, I find that.
I don't know, I've certainly looked at people who certainly think they're good.
Well, no, they certainly exist.
Yeah, and they're out there.
Yeah. Well, they seem like they're having a good time. That's the paradox.
They're having a good time, aren't they?
Those nameless, rich few.
So when did the confidence start to grow then?
I had two people tell me, the first time anyone, I don't know if you know a man called Alan Wills. He was the guy who found or saw the Coral first. I know, was our manager and then created our record label, the Delta Sonic, that he would then sell half to Sony, and he had a very similar upbringing to me in that he'd lost his elder brother and had developed shock and tried to ground himself in unhelpful ways. And, he was the first person in my whole life, actually. I was like, Jesus Christ, thanks for you kind of being that beacon a little bit.
Yeah.
Because he'd won a little bit, Alan. He was mad. He was clearly fucking bonkers. But he was energy. He was real and he was positive, and he'd come through it essentially. He bounced back. So he we were making the Roots and Echoes. I'd just come back to the band because I'd left. I'd been given leave, and I'd been called back to do that record, and that was a strange. I shouldn't have come back. Essentially, it was weird. They were in a place, and I was
because you weren't in the right place to come back.
It was not. Yeah, it was like it weren't good. But Alan used to come to the studio and come and see me and just ask how I was doing, like that kind of stuff. And he asked me if I had been. He saw my notebooks and he asked if I'd been writing. So I showed him my first songs I'd written. He was like, "You're really good. You're really good. You gotta do this." And he'd always tell me I was good because I knew I was a good guitarist. I knew I was good musically.
Yeah,
that was the only bit of confidence I had. I was very good looking as well. At this point, I was.
What do you mean? You're still very good looking?
Looking. You're
Come
still
on.
Okay. No, stop.
Stop. Keep going.
No, but no, that was a joke. But Alan. When Alan said that, then I started to think, oh, that's good because I really enjoy what I'm doing here. I think my songs are better than what the choral are doing at that time.
Yeah.
Certainly, the more as I start to develop my own taste, choral songs are brilliant. It's imagery and wordplay, and the music I like is not. It's as simple as that, really.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not that it's not, but it's certainly not that it's not. It's.
Taste change. Taste change, and that's exciting.
Yeah,
and everybody has different sort of opinion. Otherwise,
I'm just explaining that's where my head worked.
Yeah,
I liked it when they were singing to me in my headphones. Eros Childs telling me about who he is. That's what gets me on. So anyway, Al, and then
just so I just wanted to ask: did you feel that showing those first songs to Alan? Because you had a nice complicity with him, it was a safe place to show him. And did you feel comfortable showing?
Absolutely, yeah. Because I knew he'd like them. I knew he'd say, "You're good,"
and go
truthfully.
out. Yeah.
I knew he'd say,
and
that.
You'd take his opinion because you trusted him.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And I probably needed it,
You probably needed to have that little bit of confidence put in you. I suppose.
Well, it didn't go anywhere for 6 years anyway. I kept writing and things like that, but I knew it was not. At that point, the choral was not. It was that record with me was a bit of a show. It's a good record, but the whole that year or so, 3 years really, the year I've side of the record.
Yeah,
it was strained and it was, poorly managed. So there was no point in me bringing them in or trying to. I didn't really want to be in the band. You know what I mean? I certainly didn't want to make my, do anything myself. I don't know what I wanted to do. Anyway,
did you feel quite lost at that time personally? Then, if you didn't, know?
It was after my breakdown. It was like I never recovered. It took me 10 years to really even begin to become close to who I was before that, all that carry on, and I resented that they didn't acknowledge it, and they resented that I was not playing my little role in their supergroup anymore.
Yeah,
and we were all wrong, really. We all got it wrong.
Yeah,
because we were all lunatics in our own way. The people to blame, that I still blame, are the people who were sat above us. They let us all down, really, and kind of very, very close. We got very close to ruining some very important friendships, and I don't forgive that, particularly when you're dealing with young people. If you're at the top,
because you feel you weren't looked after.
Not just not looked after. I think we were. They're bad people. The people who manage them, I don't think they're good people, and that's it.
Yeah.
I think some people are breadheads and give less of a fuck about you. And I just, again, I'd never say any more than that. Do you know what I mean? But you can't. you can't have them people anywhere near your fucking head, can you?
No.
You know, they've just got to be gone
Yeah.
for the end. And I feel, even thinking about them, I can see a couple of the faces, and it makes me feel a way that I don't like feeling. And you just got to go, bah, gone. But yeah, absolutely lost, in answer to your question. It was, I was up to all kinds. It was really, really, it was really hard, you know, really hard. Bad time. and then Lawrence Bell came, who is the owner of Domino Records.
And when was this? What year was this?
When Lawrence phoned me, it was 2009.
Right.
I just had a diagnosis for a mental illness that had been undiagnosed for probably 15 years, really.
And what was that?
It's a dissociative disorder that I have, which is very simple things, very super interesting things. So it's really strange, actually. What in an adult is a diagnosis of a dissociative disorder, the same thing in a child is a defense mechanism to stop you from, to enable you to live.
Right.
So as a child, my shock, when Daniel passed, the shock, so your body just goes into shock. So that person is, for my life, for 6 years of my life, was just a blank Daniel-shaped kind of hole.
Yeah.
That was not conscious of him. There was no memory of him. It was just, he's not there. And as a child, it's super important that you are not having to deal with, morality at the age of 7, which I was. So it's brilliant, and it helped me forge this imagination, which has probably become my livelihood. So you have this grace period where my childhood, believe it or not, was really quite sweet. Daniel had died, my parents were coping, but I was just kind of allowed to live in the fairies a little bit, and then secondary school and puberty gets a bit real for everyone, and then the band happens, and you've got all this pot and fucking drugs and all. And then as an adult, when stress happens and your brain, being the learned thing that it is, because I know how to react to stress or sadness, and I'm just going to turn myself off for a little bit.
Yeah.
You can fuck off on autopilot, and I'll go on a break and I'll check back in with you in 3 or 4 months or whatever. So that started happening to me around. It's like it remembered that it could do that in about 2008, and just started to go walkabout, and I had, over the course of 4 years, maybe 4 or 5 quite serious episodes, months,
Really?
Just gone, just not quite a fugue state. So it's not. I don't have psychosis, so it's quite specific. It's called depersonalization, derealization. It's very, the opposite of déjà vu, jamais vu. It's just everything's. I recognise everything, but it don't feel right. Or like, this is the first time. This feels like the first time it's happened, but I know it's not. It's like that for months, and it's consuming. So, where psychosis, kind of when someone switches, and the brain goes, they just follow the rules that are there for them. I'd argue it's probably less harrowing. It's more dangerous.
Yeah.
Because, you're way, way, way out there with psychosis. What people like me have is you have this. Your brain goes walkabout. Your emotional center goes walkabout, and that's how we remember who we are. And you're left with this adult brain, whereas as a child, you just be a ninja or something like that for a couple of weeks or whatever. As an adult, your brain goes, whoa, how I need to make sense of the world now, and I'm left with nothing. So your parents, you're looking at your parents like nothing, no one, get nothing from anyone. You don't even look at yourself in the mirror. It doesn't look like who you think you are. Your voice feels like coming from another place. It's ugly. It's really, really fucking horrible. I know a few people have got it, actually, and I think it was much like ME in the 80s and
Right.
70s. It was completely not really understood and not really believed, I think. Certainly, I should have had a diagnosis way before. I found out myself and went to a specialist and said, have you read about this? I was like,
Oh, really? So you
got a little bit, yeah, in Walton.
So you researched it and looked.
Yeah.
So it was like a self-diagnosis, really.
I was like heavily medicated. You just keep trying new things, and keep trying this. It's your serotonin levels. You can't cope with stress. And everyone was on the right channels. Like, you can't cope with stress. I know. It's like, So you spend. So what do you do if you're obsessed with yourself? You spend. Sorry. Go back. You're consciously trying to make sense of why you don't feel like you belong. You're here. Why you're not here. That's the feeling. The feeling is like, I'm not here.
Yeah.
Or this isn't real. They're the two main things. So I had convinced myself. The first time this happened, I convinced myself. It was 2.5 months this went on. I'd convinced myself that I was in like a Sims type computer game. That was absolutely made more sense than anything else. But I hated it and it scared me. So I wasn't completely gone. I was like, well, that's my reality now.
Right.
I was aware that was fucked. And every minute of every day was, that can't be right. Like, I've got to feel something for my mum. Like, and that first one was when I wrote the first record in that, because the only thing that I had, aside all that, was for some reason this book that I'd just finished a few years previous, and this type of music that I'd started listening to, something, even though I didn't know my own parents or felt no love from anyone, there was something that I still had clung emotionally, even though, my brain had gone walkabout,
What was it that you were listening to musically?
It was things like Michael Galasso, instrumental kind of post-classical film score.
Right.
Shigeru Miyazashi and Abel Kozeniowski, and it's like the European, easier to understand modern classical music. Really, that was just my introduction into kind of immersing myself in the greats and Elgar and Chopin and all the people that I really love. And that is, I genuinely believe, aside from all the beautiful experiences I've had with music, that when you're vacant and you are, and like that's not uncommon. My instance there is quite specific to me, but very super common that at some point we will all stare into that void and know that void and that landscape of nothing, and wow, everything's gone and it's just me and this fucking thing. And in that moment, if in that moment when everything else has escaped you and you have one thing, you're going to hold on to that thing, aren't you? You're going to go, well, that absolutely is meant to be with me for whatever reason. And I'm fucked if I'm letting go of that,
And so you wrote If during that time?
During that period, yeah. I think that's,
So for those people who don't know, just listening, so the concept of it, that's not the right, is that the right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you read If on a Winter's Night, a Traveller, and can you sort of take it from there for me? Because you'll be much more eloquent.
Well,
than
no,
I.
it's I can explain the book a little bit. It helps. I essentially wrote a piece of music for 10 chapters out of this book.
Yeah.
And they were the easiest way for people to picture it, which is not how I intended, but imaginary film score, which for me is slightly jarring because it's not. I don't know. That doesn't work for me. That as an idea, that doesn't excite me. If someone says I'm doing an imaginary film score,
Yeah.
I don't want that.
Which is why I didn't say it.
Sending your daggers through the pop shield.
He's not. What did you imagine for it then? Because I understand what you mean, but
for these shit munchers who don't. Yeah.
No, for these people listening who will listen to this episode and then they'll go back
and buy
and they'll go back
several copies
and buy lots of copies of it and listen to it like I did at home when it first came out. I think this would be very interesting for them, you say.
So that novel was written by a man called Italo Calvino. He's a wonderful writer. You have to invest in that you're a central character in this novel. He explains this to you at the start. He sets the scene for you. Turn off the TV. You are here. You're being read, essentially. This character in chapter 1 starts reading this book, which is misprinted. So we only get the first chapter of this misprinted book, and you, the character who reads that first chapter. The next chapter is then you going, shit, where's the rest of my book? I go and find my book. It's like an Enid Blyton thing without the dice. And so this follows essentially. And what Calvin is trying to get at is this how when we stumble upon that first meeting with any piece of art, that ticks boxes for us immediately. How that has all the promise of everything you've ever wanted from any piece of art. So he's essentially saying that, I think me and the internet agrees that the writers, bless them, are dealing with a pretty tricky format in the start, middle, end. It's got to end, hasn't it?
Yeah.
But nothing ends, and no one wants anything to end. I don't think really. It's a very, very hard thing. I mean, that final kind of blow of the whistle is quite a tricky thing to get right. Quite often, it's more often than not why I tend to get bored of books 3/4 way through personally. Think, kind of add it.
I've got loads of those. These are all mine.
It's a very hard thing to do. And also I like the first bit because I go, oh, I'm in. Like he's got me here, and then you can see. I say him. That's not. That's just.
I think we all know what you mean.
It's just an easier. They. I am addressing that. I don't know where it comes from. Anyway,
but also you were talking about that specific book.
Yeah,
as
I was.
Well,
yeah,
so
thank you. I get. I worry about people when they're writing books, when you're reading them.
In what way do you worry?
Because it's like, oh, shit, they're losing it here. I can see it. Yeah. I'm not like a great reader, sorry. I don't probably understand the nuance because I'm a musician. My world exists in music. I kind of just. What he's getting at is how do I create this? How do I? Oh, thanks. Cheers, Griff. How do I maintain this sense of magic that only comes... So musically speaking, if you're a player, you hear that song, you hear Love Will Tear Us Apart first time, and you go, oh, that's magic, how's that? What is that? I don't even know. And then, years later, you work out the mechanics. There's one it's still magic, don't get me wrong, and it's still one of my favourite things ever. The mechanic of what's so clever about it is a complete accident. There's a very boring technical thing. When you learn the song inside out, no matter how much you love it, it is not the same as that first hit. That first hit slaps you around the face and makes you think about that. It's just that wake up to, oh my God, I'm alive in this. And then that has to go, and it's replaced by remember all those great times that I had when I heard this song. And it morphs into your need as a listener to sum yourself up, to understand yourself in that way. So what Calvino, I think, is trying to do is just prolong that in a format that it cannot be prolonged indefinitely. It has to. So in every chapter because I'm so interested in that as well, in this, in the magic that is art before you know it, before you know how it works. Each of those 10 chapters that never finish, those 10 first chapters, I wrote some music inspired by, and it's as simple as all that shite that I just said. It's as simple as a piece of music inspired by a chapter.
Yeah, inspired. I think that is
a good word, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, I think that's right. Especially when you listen to the album.
I stumbled on that, like, but that was the thing. Like, I spoke to, I wrote to Calvino's wife to ask permission. Got it translated into Italian, not knowing she was Argentinian. Sent it to her and all this. And then years later, interviewed Ludovico Einaudi, who's a pianist and brilliant writer, and his father, his father was super close with Calvino, or Calvino's wife, or his mother was super close with Calvino. And I said, I wrote to her, and he was like, "Oh, Calvino would have loved this." This is exactly the kind of thing that,
wow,
like, it's just a slightly different way of thinking about how we put art across, and and the beauty of someone taking what is his and making it theirs. I mean, that's what he's asking the reader to do, is to go, well, I'm in this. So he's in the most brilliant way. Like all instrumental music says to its listener, what are you? That's what it's asking. It's saying, can you place yourself in me, the music, and will you let me, the music, be in your world? And that's what the book's saying to the reader. It says, let's tag up, let's team up in this, and let's see if we can. And I find there's something really, that's the narrative that I like, between who makes the music and who receives the music. There's a guy I follow called Hugh. He's a great guy. I follow him on Instagram. He's got a blog. He's dead into mountains. He's a Welshman.
Right.
Just goes up in the mountains with his 2 lads. That's his, likes the clothes and likes, and it's them people I think about. When I was making this record, I thought about him. I was like, they're the people with the earphones in them places. They're in their world, and they've cemented their world. They're like, I've created my world, and I want in that for a little bit. Yeah. And I want them to have a little bit of that, and then that's the dialogue. I don't want the what I'm having for breakfast dialogue. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't think, it's a shame, because we can do so much now. We've got such a voice to say good things and help people, but at the same time, I love, like, the Bunnymen. It was never much about them. I love the enigma, the artist just doing his thing and being self-obsessed. But how'd you weigh up them things?
Don't know if you can.
No. Right,
so do you still get
nice one? I'm here for an answer. Okay.
I can't give you one. Sometimes.
No, you don't. You're absolutely right.
I was thinking about questions the other day, and if one person comes to me with a concern or a problem, I can give you my take on it. What I think. That's just what I think. Whereas if we ask Griff, or we ask you, or if we ask 7 other people, we'll probably get 7 or 8 or 9 different takes. And maybe if we take a little bit from that, a little bit from that, a little bit from that, maybe we will have an answer. But I don't know, you ask one person one thing. Yeah. I don't know, I've completely gone off on one. I was talking about something else.
I do that all the time, particularly when people are asking me things I haven't thought about for a while. I did a phone interview the other day with some American guy, bless him. He was not in a good way, this poor sod. He just listened to, it was the first interview I've done for this new record.
Oh, really?
And he just listened to the album. He was like, I've just listened to it like 6 times yesterday. I was like, that's... But he was alluding...
It's brilliant, but come on.
He was alluding to, like, life stuff going on, but I was like, oh, Christ, they should have given it to some, like 20-year-old shit kicker, and really fucked them up, not some, like, 50-year-old poor sod. But he was asking me, much like yourself, you ask you things that you only ever half think about because it's too hard to reach. to make sense of. So you just kind of like, you just stress yourself out thinking about, how do I feel about this, or what's this? How do I feel about like the choral, or how much do I talk about my mental? And you start, and you go, oh Christ! Last time I thought about this, I definitely didn't tie it up well enough for it to be on a podcast.
But but of course you don't. But that's why, generally on the podcast, I very rarely talk about jobs with actors. I don't talk about it because
you asked me about the fucking choral, though.
I know, but that's my point. This is what I'm coming to. I don't want anything to be boring or narcissistic or anything when it's actors, because actors can have a bit of a bad reputation. I don't want to talk about the jobs. People know that. But if I'm talking to a poet, or I'm talking to a musician, or I'm talking to an artist, very good. But in that line of work, I want to, because I don't know about that line of work.
Course,
that's all new to me, and hopefully it's new to people listening. But also, I need to keep what is the heart and soul of the podcast, which is the human being. So I need to. That's why I'm trying to learn about balancing the two. When it's not an actor, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
You wind an actor up and it's fine, they'll just go off. But that's why I wanted to talk about the making of the band.
Yeah, of course.
And joining it, because it all connects with who you are.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
And it's something, and like I am winding you up, like it's something that's become, particularly in the last year when I've seen more of the lads. 'Cause it was something that I was like, I tried musically. I feel in a very different place to them. Not just in terms of record sales, but like
but I know your little wry smile there. I know you don't mean that, but you mean something else altogether.
Yeah, totally. But like, and like I didn't like it. I didn't like the word for a long time, like bad memories. But in the last few years, I've realised it's actually cool that like, and I love seeing the lads now. And it's so. The more I think about it, just how obviously formative that whole thing was, and how mad that thing was. I mean, that was, it was a silly time anyway. But like 6 months ago, I would have really shied away from that, But so yeah, I guess you got us at a good time.
Even only 6 months ago,
what?
You would have shied away from it.
I would have just thought, fucking dickhead, you're asking me about that. Well, because tend not to anymore. But it's something that people just say a lot, and your reviews and that, they don't really. Just because they, word count and all that stuff. But it does, particularly when you're like doing the nature of the kind of stuff that I do, where you feel like, well, really, like the choral doesn't really have any place in my world. In
I think you certainly had it with some of the reviews from the first album, but I think it's slowly.
No, it doesn't tend to happen anymore.
It doesn't tend to happen. No,
that's fair, and I'm glad of that. I think I deserve that as well.
Yeah, I think you deserve it, mate. To be honest,
but it's not something that I'm not.
But it is kind of cheap and lazy journalism, because they need that.
Well, it's weird. It's in the same breath they say it like collaborators such as ex-choral guitarists, collaborators such as Paloma Faith and Graham Coxon. Because when I was like living back at my mum's, when I was really unwell, Converse offered me 10 grand to go and be in a music video for something, and I said no twice, and my mum went, "You're take them," but they will still say, essentially it's the same thing. I think they just go, "Oh Christ, how do we flesh this out?" Because he's writing about books and shit.
Yeah,
he's writing about books. People don't like books anymore. They like Paloma Faith and Graham Coxon. I do like Graham Coxon and Paloma Faith for that matter. But
no comment. No, I do. I like Graham Coxon. Next minute they'll be calling you a solo artist.
Imagine. To be honest, the more I talk, this is the kind of shit I would love not to be in it, because I just think you never want to hear like a whining little bitch complain about, they say the choral, and it's just not fucking important. That it's a positive thing, that band. That's the good anyway.
Yeah, but you learn from the positivity comes out of those situations, surely.
Yeah, no, but that's what I want to. I don't want to moan about them, saying that. It really doesn't. The word solo is much more of it.
That's why I said it again, because I knew it would annoy you.
Didn't annoy me, mate.
Bill, thanks so much, man. It was brilliant.
Pleasure. Thank you very much. Do people always reach over for the handshake?
They do.
Afterwards?
Sometimes people do shake my hand.
And there we go. It was a real pleasure. I'd never met Bill before. I'd been a big fan of his work, and I really wanted to sit down and have a natter with him. And I'm really pleased we did. I loved it. And look, I don't want to get all... Do you know when you watch like a programme or something on the telly, and at the end credits it goes, look, if you've been affected by the subject in this television series... I don't want to get all that. But look, if you are suffering from any form of anxiety or worry, talk to people, and they'll listen. Hopefully they'll listen, and you can get some sort of clarity. And just remember, like, Rome wasn't built in a day. And I don't want to be all cliche, but just let's talk, keep the conversation going, because it's healthy for all of us. Massive thank you to Bill for agreeing to come on. I know he was a bit mad busy. He was jumping on a train down to London to sign like loads of albums after he'd been with us. So I really appreciate it. If you're listening, Bill, even if you're not, I still really appreciate it. Well, yeah, episode 54 is done. And look, thank you so much for joining us and for subscribing and downloading. And we have a Patreon site, right? Me and Griff do this, out of the goodness of our hearts and the goodness of our wallets. If you like what we do, which is every Thursday, we give you a new free episode. We've got a Patreon site. It's patreon.com/The Two Shot Podcast. Over there, you can bung us whatever you want. If you think it's worth a pint, do that. If you think it's worth a couple of pints, do that. No problem. But look, maybe you can't afford to do it, or you don't want to. What we'd really like is if you told a friend, or you sent a link to the podcast and go, do you know what? Trevor, Steve, Dan, Jennifer, Tracy, whoever you are, have a listen to this podcast. We think it's pretty good. You might like it. Spread the word, and that'd be great for us. Leave the review, leave them 5 stars. We'll be happy. We're still going to carry on making them for free, but your help and support is greatly appreciated. And for all those new Patreon members, I've got some beautiful exclusive TSP badges coming in the post for you. Right. Well, enough of this waffle from me. You've got things to do. So have I. Get on with your day. Enjoy yourself. Take care of yourself. Okay? Lots of love. I really appreciate you being here. And, we'll see you next week. Until then, I've been Craig Parkinson. He's been producer Griff. And this has been The Two Shot Podcast. Cheers. The Two Shot Podcast is presented by me, Craig Parkinson, recorded and produced by Thomas Griffin for Splicing Block. Our brilliant music is courtesy of Then Thickens. Cheers.